Good afternoon and welcome to Som TV World News. I am Ibrahim Joda. This is where you bring you global headlines and clarity, context, and the pulse of a changing world. Here are some of the headlines. Philippines and allies to implement one-theater approach in East and South China Seas. North Korea claims honors fallen soldiers in emotional ceremony. UN chief urges DRC and Rwanda to respect peace agreements. Now the news in full. The Philippines Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro announced that military leaders are working to enforce a one-theater concept in both the East and South China Seas. This approach aims to treat both maritime areas as a single operational zone, excluding the Korean Peninsula. Teodoro stated that this concept is reasonable due to the absence of land borders in these areas. The initiative involves synergy in operations, domain awareness, intelligence exchange, and mutual reinforcement of strengths. Japan's Joint Operations Command is already operationalizing the single theater concept, and the coordinating center will be established in December by the squad grouping, comprising defense ministers from Australia, Japan, the Philippines, and the US. The Philippines and Lithuania signed a memorandum of understanding to deepen defense cooperation in areas like cyber security, maritime security, and munitions production. The Philippines has extended its alliances beyond the US, signing defense deals with Japan and New Zealand and negotiating with Canada and France. Lithuanian Minister Dovel Sakhalin noted that both countries face similar threats from hostile neighbors using similar approaches. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was seen draping coffins with the national flag during a ceremony to mark the repatriation of soldiers killed fighting for Russia against Ukraine. The emotional event was part of a gala performance in Pyongyang attended by Russian Culture Minister Olga Lyubimova to commemorate the first anniversary of the Strategic Partnership Treaty between North Korea and Russia. Kim's gesture was captured in a series of photographs showing him covering the coffins with flags and pausing briefly with both hands resting on them. The ceremony highlights the deepening ties between North Korea and Russia, with both countries celebrating their military alliance. The Strategic Partnership Treaty, signed in June last year, includes a mutual defense pact. After months of silence, the two countries disclosed the deployment of North Korean troops and praised their heroic role in Moscow offensive against Ukraine to reclaim the Kursk region. The event was attended by Russian officials, and Kim's emotional display was met with enthusiasm from the audience, with some wiping away tears. The performance aimed to inspire confidence in the ties of friendship and genuine internationalist obligation between the two nations. China has discreetly stepped up to fill the void left by Russia in Cuba, pushing ahead with critically timed projects to help the island salvage its economy. Despite Russia's promises to revitalize Cuba's sugar mill and steel industry, many of these initiatives have stalled. In contrast, China has invested heavily in Cuba's infrastructure, including major projects in transportation, port infrastructure, and telecoms. China is financing the construction of 55 solar parks across Cuba this year, with a total capacity of 2,000 megawatts by 2028. This massive undertaking will represent nearly two-thirds of Cuba's present-day demand. China's investments are seen as a lifeline for Cuba, which is facing severe economic challenges, including food, fuel, and medicine shortages, as well as frequent blackouts. Cuba joined China's Belt and Road Initiative in 2018, paving the way for increased Chinese investment on the island. Experts say Russia's promises have always been bigger than its performance, and China's assistance could prove to be a real lifeline for Cuba. Wildfires are burning in Turkey, and France as a severe heatwave sweeps across Europe. In Turkey's western Izmir province, fires have raged for The second day fueled by strong wind and hot temperature. The Forestry Minister Ibrahim Yumakil reported that 4 villages and 2 neighborhoods were evacuated due to the fires. In France, wildfires broke out in the southwestern Aude department, burning 400 hectares and forcing the evacuation of the campsite and an abbey. The heatwave is affecting several European countries, including Spain, Italy, and Germany. Spain is expected to record its hottest June ever, with temperatures reaching 42 degrees in Seville. Italy's health ministry has issued red alerts for 21 cities, including Rome and Milan, due to extreme heat. In Germany, the heat wave has lowered water levels on Rhine River, disrupting shipping, significant risk to health, infrastructure, and the economy. The Kremlin has expressed regret over Azerbaijan's decision to cancel Russian cultural events in the South Caucasus country. The move comes after police raids in Russia's Yekaterinburg city affected Azerbaijani citizens, leading to the death of 2 individuals and injury to several others. Azerbaijan's cultural ministry cited demonstrative, targeted, and extrajudicial killings an act of violence committed by Russian law enforcement agencies against Azerbaijanis on ethnic ground as the reason for cancelling the events. The Kremlin emphasized the importance of understanding events leading up to Baku's decision and expressed interest in further developing relations with Azerbaijan. Meanwhile, Russian nationalist bloggers have defended the police action, stating they were merely doing their job and fighting crime. The incident has sparked diplomatic tensions between Russia and Azerbaijan, with potential implications for their bilateral relations. Twangiza Mining, a gold miner operating in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, has accused Rwandan-backed M23 rebels of forcing its employees to work against their will and without pay. The company's mine in South Kivu province was seized by M23 rebels earlier this year, and production has been paralyzed. Twangiza Mining claims its workers have been held in captivity, forced to work in inhuman conditions, and exploited for profit by Rwandan nationals working with M23. The accusations come amid diplomatic tensions between Congo and Rwanda, with Congo and Western powers accusing Rwanda of sponsoring M23 rebels by sending troops and arms. Rwanda has denied these allegations. Recently, the foreign ministers of Rwanda and Congo signed a U.S.-brokered peace deal, raising hopes for an end to fighting that has killed thousands and displaced hundreds of thousands. The deal aims to pave the way for Western investment in Congo's rich mineral resources, including gold, cobalt, copper, and lithium. A tragic migrant shipwreck off the Italian island of Lampedusa has resulted in 1 death and 2 people feared killed. The incident occurred when a flimsy metal boat carrying migrants from Tunisia disintegrated during navigation. The Italian Coast Guard rescued 87 migrants who arrived in Lampedusa at around 4 a.m. local time. The International Organization for Migration described the vessels used by the migrants as floating coffins due to the high risk of incidents. The incident highlighted the ongoing risk faced by migrants attempting to reach Europe from North Africa. According to the IOM, over 25,000 migrants have died or gone missing on the central Mediterranean route since 2014, with 1,810 fatalities recorded last year and 542 so far this year. In a separate incident, around 80 migrants, including children and pregnant women, landed in Lampedusa after a dramatic crossing in rough weather from Libya. Iran has restricted its western and central airspace, allowing only international transit flights to pass through. According to a spokesperson for Iran's Ministry of Roads and Urban Development, internal flights linking the western half of the country to Tehran's airports are not yet permitted. This decision may be related to security concerns or other factors affecting the region. The restriction could potentially disrupt air travel within Iran, particularly for domestic flights. However, international flights can continue to use Iran airspace for transit purposes. The reason behind this restriction has not been explicitly stated, but it may be linked to ongoing tensions or security issues in the region. Global leaders have gathered in Seville, Spain for the fourth International Conference on Financing for Development to address pressing issues of poverty reduction, climate change, and sustainable development. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres emphasized the need to repair and rev up a system of cooperation where trust is fraying and multilateralism is trained. The conference aims to accelerate progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, which are increasingly at risk of falling short. With two-thirds of the SDGs lagging, Guterres highlighted the need for over $4 trillion in annual funding and a revamped financial system to support development. Key solutions include stepping up reforms to enable more lending and attract private capital, also creating a system that lowers borrowing costs, enables fair debt restructuring, and prevents debt crisis. Some of the reasons include establishing a registry for transparency and using debt swap to lower capital costs, encouraging richer nations to increase aid and support developing countries. Bello Buba Meigari, Cameroon's tourism minister and a long-time ally of President Paul Biya, has accepted his party's nomination to run for president in the October 2025 election. Meigari, 78, a former prime minister, has been loyal to Biya for over 30 years. His decision marks the second time a government minister from northern Cameroon has entered the presidential race, following Issa Chiroma Bakari's resignation and candidacy announcement last week. Meigari's candidacy could signal a fracture in the alliance between Biya's central government and influential northern elites. With over 2 million votes, northern Cameroon, 3 provinces, hold significant electoral sway. Meanwhile, President Biya, 92, the world oldest serving head of state, and commission data. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has welcomed the peace and agreement signed between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, calling on both nations to fully honor their commitments and sign the accord signed on June 27 in Washington, D.C. aims to de-escalate the ongoing conflict in eastern DRC and stabilize the wider Great Lakes region. Guterres emphasized that the agreement must be implemented in full accordance with UN Security Council resolution, which calls for immediate halt to violence and the resumption of diplomatic dialogue. The peace deal includes commitments to stop supporting armed groups like the FDLR and M23. It also includes implementing a ceasefire to halt violence, establish a joint mechanism to monitor the ceasefire, enable the voluntary return of displaced persons. A summit between DRC President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwanda President Paul Kagame is planned for late July at the White House. Despite the diplomatic progress, challenges remain with armed groups like M23 still controlling territory. The conflict has displaced over 7 million people and left 27.8 million in need of humanitarian assistance. United Nations Human Rights Commission head Filippo Grandi described the agreement as a chance to stop the cycle of violence and displacement, while MONUSCO Chief Bito Keita warned that without swift implementation and international backing, hopes for lasting peace could falter. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei has dismissed U.S. President Donald Trump's inconsistent statement on lifting economic sanctions against Tehran as mere psychological and media games. Baghei made these remarks during press conference urging the media to view Trump's comments as lacking genuine intent for dialogue or problem solving. This criticism highlights the ongoing tension between Iran and the U.S., with Iran expressing skepticism about potential diplomatic progress under the current U.S. administration. The U.S. and Iran has had a strained relationship, particularly since Trump's withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action in 2018. Trump has criticized the agreement as weak and insufficient to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. The U.S. reimposed sanctions on Iran, targeting its economy, oil export, and financial institutions. Trump recently indicated that he has considered easing sanctions to facilitate Iran's recovery, but halted his efforts following negative statements from Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Britain, France, and Germany has jointly condemned threats against Rafael Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and called on Iran to guarantee the safety of IAEA staff on its territory. In a joint statement, the three countries expressed their full support for the IAEA and its Director General, urging Iran to resume full cooperation with the agency in line with its legally binding obligations. The condemnation followed Iran's rejection of the IAEA request to inspect nuclear sites recently targeted in military strikes reportedly carried out by Israel and the United States. Iranian officials have accused Grossi of betrayal of his duties for not denouncing the attacks, and the country's parliament has voted to suspend cooperation with IAEA. Argentina's Grossi's home country has also condemned the threats, expressing solidarity with the IAEA chief. The U.S. has similarly condemned the threats to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, stating that such calls for Grossi's arrest and executions are unacceptable. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has urged U.S. President Donald Trump to adopt a more respectful tone towards Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei if he genuinely seeks a nuclear deal with Iran. Araghchi emphasized that mutual respect is essential for any potential negotiation between the two countries. He stated that Iranians value their independence and won't allow anyone to decide their destiny. The call for a more respectful tone comes after Trump's recent comments where he claimed to have saved Khamenei from an ugly and ignominious death during the recent conflict between Iran and Israel. Trump also accused Khamenei of ingratitude and lying about Iran's military actions. Araghchi responded by highlighting Iran's strength and resolve, warning that threats and insults wouldn't be taken lightly.